Robinson Crusoe has traditionally been called the first novel in English. I want to slow down before I say that. There's a long tradition of claiming first in strategic ways that exclude other writers who've done earlier things, including in this case, excluding women. It's People want the first novel in English to have been written by a man, so they're less careful about what women had been writing throughout the second half of the 17th century into the 18th century. But I want to talk about why Robinson Crusoe would be in the running for first novel and why it's a good example of the early novel form in English. First of all, it is famously centered on a middle class person, a fairly ordinary guy who is neither in the elite nor among the lowly, who is in the great middle of the world. And Crusoe's father tells him this. Why do you want to go to sea? Why do you want to have adventures? You're in the best part of the population, the middle part, the part where crazy stuff doesn't happen. You're not going to have any adventures. Crusoe's father is right. Romantic adventure, the romance genre, saves the kind of harrowing escapes and thrilling escapades and risks all the risks to the life and the hazards for the very high and the very low, for princes and shepherds, for, well, as Ben would put it, for a royal slave. He's a slave or prince. Both of these are qualifications for kind of a romance narrative. Being an ordinary middle class person, I'm a sugar warehouse manager in Suriname, would not be eligible for narrative in Ben's idea of the romance genre. This is a story about a middle class guy, and it's very much about middle class concerns about economics, about money. Crusoe is famously homo economicus. He is thinking constantly about profit and loss, about his industry, about his hard work, about property. He is consumed by business the way the English middle class largely was. They're a business class. The shopkeepers, the merchants, the craftsmen, or the lawyers. Oh, yes. Um, so this is really, if you believe in the novel as middle class genre, to quote the great critic Ian Watt, then this Crusoe is a really good example of that. It's also a really good example of the innovative way that the early novel pretends to be other things, pretends to be nonfiction, um, where it pretends, as the great Russian critic Mikhail Bakhtin has said, it kind of tends to take over and pose as other genres, including junk genres. It will take over newspapers, journalism. So, a classic novel a classic early novel will pretend to be a bunch of letters between friends, from a servant girl back to her parents. Oh my God, the owner of the house is after me. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? It will pretend to be a non-fiction account of something. In this case, Robinson Crusoe pretends to be a non-fiction account of Crusoe's adventures and includes his journal, his diary. The diary itself, keeping a daily journal, is a kind of 18th century innovation. There are relatively few diaries before the English Civil War in England. They just don't keep them. He's got one, but then the novel takes over and poses as that form. It will pose as newspapers here. It's posing as a non-fiction genre. It's acting like it's real, but really this only makes it craftier.